Now, a loan shark has told Good Morning Britain that he is busier than ever as homeowners struggle with their remortgage payments.
We have been working with the company We Fight Fraud and the Bank of Dave star Dave Fishwick to investigate the rise in people turning to illegal money lenders. 3.3 million people in Great Britain having borrowed from a loan shark over the past 3 years. Well, Dave Fishwick sat down with a loan shark who spoke anonymously about his work. Let's take a look.
See, I lend money out. Why don't you lend money, but legally, like I do?
The people that I lend money to, they can't come to you for money. They can't go to the normal route.
So if I borrowed a couple of £100 off you, what would I end up paying you back over a year?
50%, 20% on anything that's late.
What's the most you have lent somebody?
100,000.
And how long did you lend that over?
6 months.
And how much did the person have to pay you back?
150,000. And it saved them their house. I need to make sure that they can pay the money back first and foremost. Whether it be taking a logbook for the car, there's certain people that for me that can vouch and say, yeah, he's good. I take their word for it. You know, generally 5,000, 10,000, all depends on what they need it for.
So if somebody's borrowed £50,000 and they couldn't afford to pay it back, what happens next?
So the first step, we contact them, yeah? And we explain their situation to them. You haven't paid, you need to get this paid up to date. Yeah? If it's ignored and they haven't got it paid, then we'll go to pay them a visit. We'll knock on the door, we'll speak to them politely and tell them this is what's going to happen. You know, not messing about, this is what is going to happen if you don't get this money paid. And 9 times out of 10, it's not at their home. We deal with things away from their house.
What's the worst thing you've ever done to somebody that hasn't paid?
They've always paid. In the end, they've always paid. But yeah, we've had to make physical contact with people. Put it that way.
So you've had to hurt somebody.
You could say that.
Are you worried about getting caught?
I don't get up in the morning and today I'm going to do this. I might get caught. I get up in the morning and think I've got to go work. Same as you.
Well, a nasty piece of work. When he says, I've got to go to work. Dave joins us now. Well done, because this, you know, is exposing something which I know a lot of people fall victim to. Loan sharks are illegal. Dave, welcome to the studio. Who's borrowing from individuals like this?
Do you know what? They prey on the poor and vulnerable. But like I say, there's just over 3 million people over the last 3 years that's borrowed off them. And I'm terribly, terribly worried about this. It's brilliant that Good Morning Britain have worked really hard on this, Kate Hemingway and Carl Hemp and all the team, because just to get the interview was so difficult. These people are not just preying on the poor. It's actually going after middle class as well, people on £20,000, £25,000 a year. And even the loan shark told me that he wouldn't go to a loan shark. Just take a look at this.
It takes a certain type of person to, you can't just pop, you know, you can't just Google us on the internet. You can't just pop into us in Waitrose. It doesn't work that way. So it takes a certain type of person to go through the avenues to be able to get in contact with us to say, look, this guy wants to speak to you about this, da-da-da. And the person that's come to me has to be credible for me to be able to go and meet the other person. So, you know, I'd say to my mum, what on earth are you doing getting mixed up in these? How did you even get to know these people?
So this sounds obviously like an obvious question, but just go through the headlines here. Why would you advise somebody to stay a million miles away from a loan shark?
Just, they've absolutely no interest in your better needs, if you will. You know, people need to understand about APR, annual percentage rate. This guy lends 100 grand, wants 150,000 back just weeks later. You know, he hurts people. He even said that. He said, you don't want me turning up at your door third time. If I turn up for the third time, it's going to hurt. You know, and that is
it's
just
chilling,
wrong.
Isn't it? It's utterly chilling.
You know, I asked him, you know, I said to him, I said, would you write a loan off? He said, I never write a loan off. Only when people die. Take a look at this.
Jeez.
So have you had to write loans off? You've just thought, do you know what? I don't want to hurt that person. They haven't got the money. I'm just going to write it off.
No, the only time I've ever written a loan off is on 2 occasions where people have died. That's my limit. I don't chase. Despite what some people do, I don't chase family members for that. It's done.
I mean, I think, as you alluded to at the beginning, Dave, there's a sort of cliche, isn't there, about who is borrowing from a loan shark? But it looks like more and more people in higher income brackets are feeling the pressure and needing to go to someone like this. And if they end up getting themselves in a situation so desperate that they think that the loan shark is the only answer, what would you say to them?
Do you know, there's always another way. There's tons and tons of help out there. The FCA run websites. There's actually lots and lots of help online. And if you're really, really scared, it's 999 and ring the police. But I think there's a huge need for financial education. In schools to start with, let's start teaching kids what annual percentage rate really means. Let's make sure kids stay a million miles away from these people. You know, it just needs to be taught the dangers of borrowing from a loan shark, because look what he said to me next in this one. This is another level again.
You leave school at 15 and that's it, you're thrown to the wolves. There's no, you know, they're not setting anyone up for, they don't learn about business deals, they don't learn about mortgages, they don't learn about savings, they don't learn about, you know, the real things in life. Loans. Would
you teach them about loan sharks?
Of course, 100%.
What would you say to them?
I look at myself almost like an emergency service, not in the sense that, that I'm the police or anything like that, but people generally don't come to me on their day-to-day life. Most people come to me when they're desperate.
Can I ask you about how loan sharks view banks in a second, but just before I ask you that, talking about the violence, do they really follow through? Do you think that guy, is he all mouth, basically, or do you think he actually does do what he says he's going to do?
Do you know, the team here have done such a fantastic job of looking into this. We spent weeks, we made sure that this guy was for real. Because sometimes, Richard, you need to understand how bad something's got to make sure you never go near there. The reason I've got involved is I wanted to see why this is happening, how this is happening, and then I can try and get some change.
Right.
Because millions of people are going. This isn't just 2 or 3 people down the pub. No. Millions of people. I'm getting letters asking for loans for baby milk. I'm getting letters asking for loans to pay energy bills. You know, the cost of living crisis is so real. And these people are preying on the poor and vulnerable and the middle class.
All right, well, we know what we think about them. What do they think about regular banks, high street banks?
And what do they think about you, Bank of Dave?
Well, do you know what? We only agreed on one thing, and that was the education of people. Apart from that, I despised him with a passion and hated him with a passion for preying on the poor and vulnerable. But there's 54 branches of banks closing every month. If we carry on closing banks at that rate, it's going to be the rise and rise of the loan shark. And that is what's going to happen. Even he says the reason he wanted to speak is because he wanted to say, look, the banks aren't lending, so I am. That's what he thinks. He thinks it's a business. You know, how does that work? How have we got in this situation? You know, let's have a look at what he says about the banks.
The banks are out for themselves, you know, and so it makes no difference. You know, there's no reason why the times that we've helped people that the banks couldn't have helped them for another 3 months, knowing that if they don't, they lose the whole house and the banks take everything off them.
Presumably, he's a very rich man.
Oh, yeah, definitely, undoubtedly.
Rolling in it.
You know, you could just tell the way he was stood, the way he was sat, the way... I mean, he'd gone in there, he'd put all tape on all the cameras to make sure that nothing saw him come in. He really was very, very professional. And he saw himself as a business, Richard. You know, he thinks he's a business. You know, he's not a lender, he's not... You know, anybody that's harassing anybody, even if they're unregulated, if you're being harassed out there as a borrower, then you can go back and you can get recourse.
Exactly.
You know, there's customer cares and conditions that you've got to go through. There's a lot of people out there in a big mess.
There are. I just feel like, you know what? I don't know what we do to help, though. I feel like you know, it's too late to give people education. We can give children education, but what on earth do we do other than call 999, you know, if you're in trouble?
Well, I think it's important that we start remembering how much help's out there from other lending sources. There's people online. You can go to credit unions. They're your local people. I love credit unions. They're wonderful. Okay. You know, if you need to borrow a little bit of money because you're really struggling, go along to a credit union, go along to a community lender, go online and look for somebody that's FCA regulated. Because if they're regulated, they've got a certain amount of terms and conditions they've got to stick to, and you will be safe with a regulated lender. These people are absolutely unscrupulous, and please, please, please stay away from them.
Yeah.
Right. Look.
Please do. Well, look, you know, you've mentioned some of the help that's out there. And if you are affected by that issue, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines. If you want to check if a lender is authentic and registered, you can go to the government-run Stop Loan Sharks website, stoploansharks.co.uk. In the UK, nearly all financial services do have to be authorised or registered with the Financial Services Register, and that can be found on the Financial Conduct Authority's website. All of that information on itv.com/helplines. Dave, thank you very much.
Really good service.
Can I just finish with one thing?
Course.
Can I just say, if anybody's out there that's in a real mess, please write to us. We'd love to hear at G&B from anybody that's got in touch with a payday lender, with a loan shark, and with anybody that's got involved. We'd like to hear from you.
We've heard from a Citizens Advice Bureau employee. Well, he's retired now, but he said when he was working for them, he was aware of many loan shark guys who would actually take the child benefit books from the people that they lent money to, hang on to them, rendezvous with them on payday at the post office, take the money and keep the book. And
they do.
On like that week after week after week.
And they take logbooks for cars. They take things off you.
Yeah.
You know, these people running a serious business.